Okay, good afternoon. The Building Facilities Construction Committee meeting of Wednesday, August 16th, 2023 will now come to order. Going around the table give your name.
Linda Brown.
Bob Wormy?
Shirley Mazinski, and we have our administrator, Matt Wojcik, and Ray on Zoom. Okay.
Zoom, right class.
Thank you for tuning in. First item on the agenda, and we need to get some updates on what's going on. So first item is the needs assessment and feasibility considerations supporting options for public safety and/or highway department building projects. So Matt, if you could update us on the progress,
Sure.
please.
Crossing my arms because we just got the air conditioning back up.
Yeah, oh,
Working.
Well, it's just an adjustment for me because I've been in steam bath all day in my office. Weston and Sampson's work is ongoing, continues, and we have heard nothing to change our projected November special town meeting conversation about bond issuance related to a conceptual plan that would be presented to voters. So they're in that phase, right? They're doing drawings, doing analysis. We're granted access to some property that the town does not own, and the engineers went out and walked it and took their extensive notes and started thinking about different options for the highway bond. We're anxious to hear from them because if there's property that needs to be part of the project that the town doesn't own, we need to assess the willingness of the owner to sell. We wouldn't have gone this far if we didn't think there was at least a possibility of that conversation. But we'll get closer to brass tacks as we get to the end of August and into September. We need to know what we're presenting in November, so we're awaiting that recommendation from Weston and Sampson on what site would be best for a highway bond. I'm just going to skip around a little bit.
okay.
Weston and Sampson is our house doctor, so you knew this was going to happen, right? Hey, we need this. And do you have any capacity? Do you have anybody who's willing to draw some things? So, as you know, they are engaged. I won't talk about the roof, we can talk about that separately. But
Yep.
in terms of the fire department, so this is going to take away from some of the conversation around item 2F. And we'll deal with it here under item 1. Bruce McRitchie and his firm felt that in order to address the air quality and air movement issues at the fire department, that there may need to be some interior work done. I don't want to call it structural because it's going to be, they're not going to be bearing walls.
Okay,
There's, we're going to hang some studs and some drywall and sequester some spaces from others so that contaminants don't flow so freely through the building and into areas where people are working or sleeping from either the turnout gear storage area or from the bays themselves. McRitchie is not an architect, doesn't do this kind
Right.
of design work. So Weston and Sampson, I'm glad to say, has stepped up and said they would fill this in. It's a very simple set of shop drawings. And part of what I've tasked them to do goes beyond that, closing off the workout space conversation, because that's really simple. Selectman Fitzpatrick had come up with a concept of, it might be best if we took the turnout gear and stored it in a new space, basically an addition, to bump out of the back. If you're looking at the Douglas Fire Station from Maine,
yep,
and you look at the right-hand side of the building, you remember from your walking tour, there's some storage space on either side of the bay, which
Yeah.
is in the middle.
Right.
That back space were bumped out into some area that we don't think we have any underground utilities at all. And we basically used it for just the shell. And it would be the place where the turnout gear is taken out of the building completely and put into its own space where the air is managed in its own space behind a sealed door, where, pressure differential is used to prevent that air from flowing around. It might be the most cost-effective way to deal with the turnout gear and the contaminants that it releases into the air inside the building. Because now you've completely removed it from where everybody's going to be working or sleeping or eating, and it will also be convenient to the base, because you would reach the turnout gear from the equipment bay. So you're going to put on your gear and get on a piece of equipment and leave. The preliminary engineering that would be associated with that is some core samples that you would take, and then you're going to look at the strength of that wall on that side and make some basic assessment. That's what I signed them to do as part of, the funding for that project.
I have a question. So
yeah.
it will be like a small addition, just a 10 by 10 room or smaller?
I don't know, I don't want to venture a guess on the size, but
Okay.
small in comparison to the rest of the building, definitely. It doesn't need to be much bigger than the storage spaces that are inside the building now. I would just remind folks that turnout gear is for full-time and call. So when you add up all of our staff, you would need storage space for 25, 30 sets of turnout gear. So when people respond to the station, their gear would be there.
The turnout gear, because I know there was like a washer and dryer in the building and stuff like that to clean the equipment, the gear. It wouldn't make sense to take the gear out and bring it into the building to do the cleaning. I mean, you might need a washer and dryer in this room.
Good question.
It is. The washer and dryer are already installed.
Years ago, right?
Not that long
Not that
ago.
long ago,
Yeah,
within the last 4 years.
yeah, 4 or 5, yeah.
The difficulty with moving the drain in particular for the washing machine, I don't think it's insurmountable. It's a drain,
Yeah.
right? A single drain. But I think we'll have to look at the workflow in the building to make sure that that would
Yeah.
make sense.
'Cause it's
In a way, it
contaminated.
would.
It would have to be brought back in.
Yeah.
Hanging it up isn't going to decontaminate it.
No. No, it comes back into the building now. So if they're in a fire incident, they come back to the building, they bunker pants, turnout jackets, everything goes into the washing machine and then into the dryer.
Yeah.
So it is contaminated when it's being handled at first. These are big machines, right? So these are
Yeah.
like your big commercial Speed Queen type washing machine and dryers. They take up space, so to the extent that we could move them, it might make sense.
So that the gear is cleaned before it would be put in this room?
Even if you use like a vestibule in
Okay.
between the edge of the building
Yeah.
and the edge of your storage area, if you had basically your typical washer and dryer pantry that you might have in a residential home, it might make sense to do it that way. I'm sure they'll,
Food for thought.
And yeah, no, that's very good. And so, and Weston and Sampson, I'm sure would be aware of this situation, or if not, remind them so that it's coordinated into the whole picture here, if that's what they're coming up with.
yeah. So that's an option they're exploring for us.
Yeah.
They're going into the preliminaries to me.
Okay. I don't know if,
Lost Ray?
I think we lost connectivity on Zoom, so I'm turning it back on. I think it's our Wi-Fi though. So hopefully we're able to get them back.
yeah, really. Bob, you have any questions?
No.
Okay, so hopefully this cost and everything doesn't take from the original plan of highway department, and there's only so much the taxpayer can digest.
I'm going to wag my finger at you. This is ARPA money.
Oh,
Make sure.
Taxpayer isn't paying for it.
All right, make sure.
Good money.
Okay,
Ultimately, it is, at some theoretical level, it
Yes.
definitely comes from all the taxpayers.
right.
They're not.
There's
locally-
nothing free.
They're not locally raised.
I hear you. I agree. All right, so anything else you want to add to the original Highway Department building? Are we
No,
just waiting for them to,
Yeah, there's a period of time in this project where they're going to go silent because they're in their cubes drawing.
yeah,
That's where we are.
but you really feel this is going to be some of this is going to be available for November?
Till somebody tells me different, that's the plan, because that's the contract we signed.
All right, okay. Any other questions, Linda? We don't have a quorum.
yeah, he came
Yeah.
back.
Welcome back, Ray.
Yeah, it seems like your Wi-Fi or cable doesn't work so well in that building.
I guess, and here's Fred. Hi. So Ray, you heard most of this discussion. Did you have any questions?
I did not know.
Okay. So Fred, just to quickly update you, we're talking about the needs assessment for the highway, and Matt was filling us in on where they are at this point, hoping to still be ready to bring it before town meeting in November, but also some of the the fire department issue is kind of integrated into the whole situation, so, and Matt, feel free to add anything to catch him up. All right, if nothing else, status of oil spill, and this has been hanging on and on and on, so where are we?
Can't rush Mother Nature, Madam Chair.
They
Time.
took the samples.
The time of waiting has elapsed, and yesterday, knock on wood, this is one of those things, whatever your belief system is, light a candle, shake a rattle, talk to the moon, because we need all the help we can get to finish this
Yeah.
silly thing. 21 Environmental was here yesterday taking what, the guy's name is Pat Pasquale. Pat is hoping is the last set of data he will need to take. And it was air quality, follow-up.
Okay.
So I asked him if there was anything stinking down there, and he said no, but it's not up to his nose, it's up to
Okay.
So it's just the air quality?
So at one point, there was still a tad of oil or something in the earth, and you haven't heard anything more about that? But we haven't got a definite all clear.
Right. So one of his staff members is his vendors is it's called a risk assessor.
Yeah.
And she is very, very smart, and she follows the numbers to the book. And if the numbers are under the thresholds, we will be clear. At this point, we're not looking at anything that would be too problematic. What would happen if we're over the thresholds is we might have to put in additional monitoring protocols, but we're not going to be digging to the center of the earth like we were when the spill first happened. All that is over. So it's just a question now of, can we completely close the incident, or do we need to leave the incident open and do more monitoring? That's pretty much where we are.
Okay. Anyone? All right, the next item is green communities. Anything new?
No, I
No.
think I promised this, and I haven't, I know where the document is, I didn't bring it with me today, Madam Chair, my apologies. But I wanted this committee to see our overall energy usage profile on our municipal buildings. We keep track of that as part of
Good.
being a green community. And my personal view is the town of Douglas has a very impressive performance. So since 2016, we actually use slightly less energy than we did in 2016. And you say, what's so impressive about that? Well, because so many of our devices now use so much more energy that you would expect our energy profile actually to go up. We may use less of certain forms of energy, but our overall profile, you could imagine, would go up. And, not only have we stayed stable for quite a long time, but we've gone down slightly. Some of that is skewed by last winter being a very abnormally warm winter. But the net effect of all the Green Communities grant funds and the implementation of those funds is definitely very noticeable, especially on the electricity side. Because converting the street lights and building lights over to LED has significantly reduced the amount of electricity we use, which causes us a completely different kind of problem. It's a good problem for everyone except Gene. Because we use our solar credits against our entire electricity bill, and they're capped, right? So they can only use so much. So we are at this point generating more credits than we can use. And so at a certain point of the year, Gene stops paying National Grid when they bill us, because we have such a large
Credit?
credit. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, being one of only 2 states in the country that does cash basis accounting, is not exactly happy with us having a prepaid expense on our balance sheet, to the tune of almost $160,000.
Wow.
So we're managing our energy profile very aggressively. So no, the reporters don't ask me that. They want to go for the flashy stuff. But the fact is, this town does a very good job. Municipal government has done a good job reducing costs of energy. So
Good.
And that stuff doesn't just happen. People saw that it was available, went and got it for the town and made it happen.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which is good.
yeah. So is, on the proposed or possible highway situation, I hope we're encouraging solar on the roof, or,
We are going to do an extremely efficient building.
good,
A large portion of the storage is going to be cold storage. So we use minimal energy. We're just going to be storing pieces of equipment that aren't that sensitive to the weather. The architect will be challenged to make it work. So in other words, our office functions really can and should be powered with solar panels, because we just don't use that much electricity. The highway department, most of the time, those folks are outside working. They're using lights to light their workspace inside the building when they're there, and we have a clerk who works pretty much all of her hours inside. So that's the person that we're concerned about. But, computer systems are minimal, the radio base station is minimal, it's just not a big draw. Our solar strategy needs to be more broadly aggressive on a bigger scale to get most of the towns. If we could get to the point where a lot of our electricity is being generated locally by a renewable source, that's what we're going after.
okay.
So when we talk to solar installers, that's the scale they're looking at. They're talking megawatts, not kilowatts. So I think that we're venturing from the agenda a little bit, and it's not technically on the agenda, but
Right.
when we contemplate the most high-impact project for us would be on the school property, in some of the space that, because an awful lot of space was taken, not purchased, taken by the town of Douglas, to build the school project. Some of it is amenable to solar. If we did that, we would want to do, what are they called? Not pavilions, but we want to partially cover the parking areas with solar panels. It does 2 things. It provides shelter to staff and to students who park their cars. Presumably, we'll be charging more and more EVs with the passage of time. So if you're charging your vehicle, it's better to be undercover. And it would be really great if the solar panels over your head were feeding batteries that powered at least some of those chargers. So
Sure.
when I think about big projects for renewables, that's what I'm thinking about. Depending on the orientation of the highway building, it's going to depend on whether or not it's a good building for panels. The building that's best for panels is the fire station, because it is a southerly facing building with the roof profile. It's amenable. We just don't ever want to have a roof fire on our own fire station.
No. No.
Be really sure that solar installation is top-notch.
And the solar panels does not always have to be on roofs, so,
Yeah, they take up a lot of space.
They do.
Outside.
but, again,
The parking lot
Yeah.
out there is really good.
yeah, all right.
We lo-
Questions, anybody?
We lost Ray again.
I think probably our system,
Yeah, it looks like it's our Wi-Fi, so it keeps going down and we'll lose him when it goes down, but thankfully it came back up, so
okay,
hopefully it stays.
there he is. Okay, we'll try to get through and not lose him anymore. Okay, the next item is the municipal backup generator.
Crickets.
Matt Benoit, you're welcome to come up to the table.
That's what they all say.
So we're still status quo on the roof,
Not the roof, the.
the generator, I'm sorry, yes.
Yep.
Still waiting for them to deliver. Yipes. Okay, municipal main roof replacement.
So the drawings are being done up by Weston and Sampson. We feel like we're still going to have a shot at being on the roof this construction season. I know it's drawing to a close, but they came through, what was the last meeting? I don't know if you were part of that last meeting, Weston and Sampson. Time is a blur to me, but I want to say 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I think it was after your last meeting, Madam Chair. Our internal team met with Weston and Sampson on the roof of this building, and they had clear recommendations. I think I said this to you, though.
Yeah,
They
you-
favored a PVC roof over the standard.
Right,
Yeah, that's,
You
so it was
did.
more than 3 weeks ago.
okay.
We are due to meet with them again tomorrow. I think we're meeting with them for another update. What I expect to get from them is a final bid package that, once we sign off on it, it'll be posted and bid out. I'm curious myself now when I'm supposed to be with them.
And one of the options also was the elevator roof.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hopefully it can get done before winter
That would be ideal.
and no leaks.
We don't like leaks.
No.
We're not picking on the vegetable.
Okay, municipal fire alarm is still waiting
Yep.
till we get the roof. And the fire station upgrade
So
touched on.
the only thing I'll add to that is that once the architectural piece is done, then the remainder of the HVAC design will be done. And I may have told you this last time too, forgive me if I repeat myself.
That's all right,
but
keep us, yep,
We made sure that McRitchie understands that that old boiler is coming out. And we're replacing it with a much more efficient boiler. So our concern was that the heat mass that has to be built up for that boiler to function is just incredible amount of energy. And that furnace is roaring all the time in the winter.
because of poor insulation too,
Yeah,
you
so-
mentioned.
Going back to the little task list for Weston and Sampson, it includes an investigation of the building envelope for potential insulation or tightening.
a question.
Yes,
So
Linda.
HVAC, that's out now completely.
What do you mean?
It's going to be a boiler.
So heating, ventilation, and air conditioning won't be provided by heat pumps, if that's what you're asking.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so the heat pumps, the inquiry was joined, fully by this fellow, Bruce Owens, and his assistant Charlie Connolly from McRitchie. The downside of using a heat pump in a fire station is that it takes a lot more energy to heat the building than to cool it. So the heat pump will be oversized for the AC piece and will fight itself. And in the winter,
Yeah.
if it has a backup coil, it's going to be constantly calling for heat. So the feeling was the useful life of the asset will be less and its efficiency will be less because the building isn't tight. So you're just constantly pushing hot air up against leaky walls and a leaky roof. And it was not actually going to save us any money or energy usage. So the bigger issue here is that building envelope investigation to see if there's anything we can do about that. There is an alternative, which it may sound odd at first, but it's not really crazy talk. There are really heavy draperies that can be hung at the top of your ceiling that go all the way to the floor, that have significant insulating qualities that would greatly enhance the efficiency of the building without having to try to blow insulation into all those
Yeah.
nooks and crannies, so to speak, of the cinder blocks that are there. So,
And
Linda? Yeah.
will it be air conditioned at all for the summer?
yes,
So that, are we doing mini splits for that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be lots and lots of zones. So the alternative to having a heat pump that handles the whole building with a couple of zones is to have lots of zones with individualized equipment for that specific zone. It may increase your long-term maintenance burden because you'll just have more equipment to keep up with. But you're going to save a lot of energy. And it's only going to call for heating and cooling when that specific space needs it.
And it'll be more comfortable.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? Fred, you have any questions? Bob? Ray, any questions,
No,
comments?
good. No,
Okay. Matt, do you have any comments regarding your involvement?
Our green community. Greg's still out. We haven't heard anything back or got any requests for comments, so still keeping our fingers crossed. Hopefully we get the grant to finish up the LED lights at the Douglas High School.
Ah, okay. Thank you. All right, we do have a set of minutes, June 21st. I hope you have all had the opportunity to read them. I think we're all caught up on our minutes.
No, because we have July.
That's right. Good call, Linda.
And I read them, and they're 100% correct in my eyes. Yay.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the June 21st, 2023 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Linda, seconded by Bob. Minutes of June 21st, 2023. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So voted. Thank you, everybody. That's great. Upcoming meetings, September 20th and October 18th. Offhand, do you have any problems with those dates? And again, I appreciate you responding to my question of your availability. Makes it easier for me and Jen and everybody who's going to come. So thank you.
A question about that. Does mornings work better for anybody?
Doesn't matter to me.
doesn't matter to me either. And actually, I'm scheduled to be in Texas that week of October 18th.
And would you be able to be on Zoom, or you're unavailable? Are you unavailable that date?
Yeah, chances are I'll be in meetings.
Okay. As long as I have a quorum, we'll go for the regular meeting date, but if you, as we get closer, can't make it, so we don't post the meeting and then have to cancel. So, okay, agreed? Thank you.
Well, I'm just curious, does mornings work better?
It doesn't matter to me,
Because
but
if that isn't posted yet, that could be changed to a morning.
just a one time, or are you asking all the time?
All the time, just 4 o'clock smack in the middle of the day. It's difficult to schedule around.
Well, it also depends on the staff here and their
Yeah, that's why I'm
schedule.
asking.
Madam Chair, I think Mr. Fontaine's looking for an excuse for us to buy donuts
No,
for the next meeting. Happy to do. Happy to do. No, we can do mornings, as long as we know when it is, we'll plan.
say around 10 o'clock are you,
Yeah, 10 would be perfect.
Yeah?
Same day?
same day?
Yeah.
Let's go for a 10 o'clock, let's try it. Okay, at 10 o'clock on September 20th?
I know some other boards meet during the day too, like open space.
Open space, I think, is Mondays, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
There are 2 PM.
all right. So next-
Cemetery, I haven't seen them meet in a while. They used to meet during the day.
Who's that?
Cemetery.
Cemetery.
Oh,
Check reservation,
9
clerk.
or 10 a.m.
Yeah, okay,
but what day?
It depends, because we usually
Okay.
just pick a date based on
All right.
our availability.
okay. We'll have Jen check it out if the room is available.
So let's
And
plan on it for the
so
September?
check on, yeah, we'll plan on the 10 o'clock in the morning on September 20th. See if that's, if not, she'll get in touch with us.
And so we're changing it.
Just for one time.
forward. Oh, just that one time?
One time, let's see how they do. And if it works, fine, we can go one more, and if that's what the board is, it's better for the board and the staff, we can see what we'll do. All right?
Great.
Anybody have anything that isn't on the agenda that needs to, you feel wants to, you need to bring up, or you're good? All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn at 4:34.
Second.
Motion made by Linda, seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So voted. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.